Birth plan, let's go. I feel like this one is going to ruffle a few feathers because it's quite controversial, apparently, making decisions on your own body and your own birth plan. Imagine that. A quick trigger warning disclaimer. There will be some conversations of surgery, blood, talking about things that not everybody might feel comfortable with, so just be aware of that before we start. You may also become triggered by what I'm saying because I don't agree with C-sections. Let's go. When we first found out we were pregnant, obviously, as you know, I've said it a million times, we did have a tough time getting here and we wanted to ensure the best possible delivery for our baby. That was what made me choose an elected C-section. I'd already done my research into this and lots of friends shared with me their experience of electing for a C-section, various reasons, and I was just really blown away and so impressed with their experiences. In comparison to other people I knew and other friends, family members who had had really traumatic births naturally, when I weighed up the two in my mind, it suited me better to have the C-section. The recovery is something I'm quite nervous about because I'm aware it's different for everyone. However, friends of mine who had emergency C-sections were literally up and out within days, pushing the buggy around the park. So I think it all depends on you as a person, how active you've been during your pregnancy, and also just in general, you know, how your birth goes to plan. Can we just discuss something about birth plans? Why do they call it a plan when nothing ever goes to plan? For me, giving birth vaginally was never an issue. I was never scared or worried. I was more concerned about the consequences of being left in labour for so long and then potentially something happening to my baby in that time. That was what was scaring me most. And then having an emergency C-section was what was getting me worked up, to be honest. I did look to go private in the very beginning, and it was actually my private consultant who advised us to have elected C-section. He said, you know, it happens in a lot of places. It can be a really easy journey. At the end of the day, it is what you want. So I took his advice on board and we were gonna have our baby in London, in a hospital there. And then as time went on, I was honestly toying with the idea so much about a vaginal birth versus C-section. I think it was more so because people were saying to me, oh, you're never gonna like have that feeling of like pushing your baby out, like it's such an incredible feeling and blah, 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 which I can understand, I'm sure it is. But I'm not gonna love my baby any less because of the way it came out. And even still, like I said, I could have a vaginal birth, end up having to have a C-section anyway. So I think that's all I'm going to say on that matter. So when it comes to going private or NHS, Jodie and I obviously did discuss it. It is a lot of money. For us, it was one of those things where it was like, if you've got the money to do it, what else would you rather spend that money on? There's only so many holidays or nights out or Rolexes that can go towards. I think more than anything, ensuring the safe delivery of our child was something that didn't have a price on it. However, as time went on, and the more people I spoke to who had their babies privately turned around and said to me, you know, especially if you're having a C-section, there are complications where you could end up in an NHS hospital anyway. My mum said to me as well, she was like, she was really concerned about private hospitals not being as well equipped as an NHS one. But again, this is all just my opinion, and we have gone full fucking circle on this from start to finish, where I said, let's go private, let's do NHS, and I have exhausted every possible resource of learning and researching. So we have decided to stay with the NHS. They do a fantastic job, don't get me wrong, it was never about that. It was more so just about my personal preference and what we wanted to do in terms of our birth and delivery. So even with an elected C-section, my midwife had said to me that that could also not go to plan. So say for example, I went into labour, I was like 6 centimetres dilated by the time I got to hospital, one of those situations that was like miraculous. I would have to push the baby out. Like, I appreciate that, you know, they know best, your doctors know best, but at the same time, you know your body, so you must listen to your own gut instinct and what suits you. One of the questions on my Insta was, have you ruled anything out altogether? Or is your plan like quite loose, or are you quite open to ideas? Like I've always said, when we make plans, God laughs. Sometimes all of that goes all out the window, and at the moment where I'm at with my health and with the baby, which I'm gonna go on to next, I can't really have a plan anyway, but I know that I'll be cut open to be able to have the baby. One of the questions that was really great actually was, how do you mentally prepare if it doesn't go to plan? I think for me, obviously I haven't done it yet, so I'll come back to this one in 6 weeks time. But I think more than anything is, with pregnancy as a whole, is that you must accept things for what they are. It's so easy to get yourself so worked up, but I think when you get to this point in your pregnancy, when it comes to birth plan and where things are actually gonna go, you just start to think, wow, it is what it is. But you know, an ideal situation for me is what I have planned. So my plan is, I have a pre-op assessment on the Friday before I give birth, and then I have my surgery planned for the Monday. So on that Friday, I'll do an MRSA test. I think I have to do a COVID test as well. A few little bits, last minute check over, and then I've got the weekend to spend with Jode, my mum obviously, and then on the Monday I go in at 8 AM and I have my baby. I'm actually allowed 2 birth partners. I'll be taking my mum and Jodie with me, and they do everything with you with the anaesthetist, and you sign some consent forms, and then when I go down for the actual surgery, it'll be Jodie and I on our own, but my mum will be there waiting when we come back up. Oh my God, I'm so excited. The surgery itself takes 45 minutes to an hour, and it actually takes them between 5 and 7 minutes to take the baby out. So they cut through 7 layers of skin, whip that baby out, sew you back up, and that takes around 40 minutes afterwards. During that time you get to have skin to skin with your baby, that's providing everything's safe and okay. Yeah, then I'll be carted back up to the ward and I get to see my mum. They'll have a catheter inserted because I'll be shitting and pissing myself without being able to feel it. Yeah, I actually hit an all-time low last week. I had to buy adult nappies. Yeah. I think something else that I loved about the elected C-section and birth plan was being able to actually plan it. I already know what day I'm having my baby. Obviously the night before I'll be doing a full beauty MOT. Spray tan, nails, hair, brows, lashes are booked. You know, being able to have my hospital bag ready and everything else gives me that sense of calm. Got our own playlist, we can play our own music, put in a request to the doctor to say that I want Jodie to be the one to tell us what it is when it comes out, whether it's a girl or a boy. Funny story actually, somebody messaged me about this saying that a friend of hers or her cousin or whoever had a girl, like they brought the baby out the body, and where she was so swollen it looked like she had a pair of balls. And the husband was like, oh, it's a boy, it's a boy. And the doctor was like, no, it's not, it's a girl. She's just swollen. I can imagine Jodie's gonna get that wrong. So even after everything I've mentioned about electing and knowing a date, this week has been a bit of a nightmare. I went to see my midwife last week and the baby is measuring big. So I'm now on my glucose testing every day. The growth scan said that the baby's looking at around £7.12 at the moment at 37 weeks. But I think that's quite hard for them to judge anyway. I mean, how the hell do they even know that? I've got an appointment on Thursday with my doctor again about the C-section. Like every time I go to hospital they want to make a new plan and I'm like, I haven't had my nails done. I can't do this weekend, I'm working. So I'm like trying to fit my life around things, and at the moment it's tenterhooks. Something that I really wanted to talk about more than anything was the controversy and judgment surrounding C-sections and electing for C-sections. A C-section is major surgery. They cut through 7 layers of skin. In older generations, there's this thing where it's like, when I was telling people about what I was planning to do, they were like, why? What on earth would you do that for? Why? I went to a party. Some girl was like, oh, like, how are you planning to give birth? And I said, oh, I'm electing for a C-section. And she was like, why? And I was like, it's not really any of your business, first of all. And secondly, why can I not make that decision when it's my birth plan and my baby? There's this thing about sunroof mums where they're just not taken like as seriously. And I don't know why, but can we change that? Because C-sections, especially emergency ones, are life-changing and life-saving. There's also no medals when it comes to this. You do realise that, don't you? You do realise that once the baby's here, that is your reward. It doesn't matter how the baby gets here, just as long as it's happy and healthy, and so are you. There's no like certificate, like you don't leave the hospital with a little trophy that was like, I didn't have an epidural, I didn't have pain relief. Grow up. So my hospital bag might be different to most ladies because I know what I'm planning on having in terms of my birth plan. I've actually packed for both eventualities. Shall I show you? Shall I just show you what's in the bag? So last weekend when we had the whole cholestasis panic last Sunday, my mum and I literally panic packed everything, and the bag was just full of clothes. I don't even think I packed a pump. I didn't do anything. She was like, what do you want to bring the baby home in? And I was like, Peter Rabbit. And there was actually nothing of any substance in my bag, but now I do have things of substance in my bag. This is my suitcase. This side is for baby and this side is for me. So I've got these amazing little bags from Etsy, which I'll link, but they have labelled everything and I've put all my stuff in there. Underwear, I've gone for a full brief, sexy as hell, and nursing bras. I've also got some compression socks there with bananas on. Obviously planning to breastfeed, but I did bring some Aptamil just in case. All chargers, USBs and an extension cable. This is a really big one. Make sure you take an extension cable regardless of your birth plan, just because you never know how far you are from the plug, and especially if you have a C-section, you cannot be reaching over. Well, I've got 2 gorgeous pairs of Primani PJs. I've got a zebra pair and a pink, like pinstripe pair of my C-section waistband as well, postpartum belly band, which will protect. Any tips on this would be invaluable actually. We've got baby's side, there's snacks, but that is literally my pump. I bought my own ibuprofen and paracetamol in there as well because someone advised me that you can't always get hold of a nurse. Wipes, a blanket for baby, bodysuits, nappies, they're so tiny and cute. Spare clothes, it's my little Peter Rabbit outfit. A towel, sleep suit and toiletries for baby. Slings, obviously, they're very important. I'll pack a dark towel, there's one hanging up there, and my dressing gown and maybe a nice outfit to come home in that isn't just black. I said to Jodie, I said when I leave that hospital I want a picture outside like Princess Di. That is my birth plan. It all sounds very straightforward and very regimental. Who knows? Because it probably won't go to plan.